What is particularly interesting about these men is that Newham became the most popular council in the country with an approval rating of 80% by 2018. Extraordinary numbers. They also managed to freeze council tax from 2008 to 2018, which, if you think about that, at a time when central government was giving out less money, is an astonishing achievement. And those of you in the press corps that have heard me say this before, it bears repetition that in some ways our weakness as a party is not having people who have been on the front line, managed budgets, run government at all levels. And today makes a significant step forwards for us in that direction. Sir Robin, who will speak in a moment, will become our London Director of Local Government, and we're looking forward to his experience. And Clive is going to be our mayoral candidate in the contest coming up in Newham. So without further ado, Sir Robin, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right. OK, just to introduce myself again, because it's in my speech, and even though Nigel's very kindly introduced me, I was leader of Newham Council for 6.5 years, and then I was the executive mayor for 16 years. I was the first ever Labour directly elected mayor. You'll remember Ken Livingstone was elected, but he was elected as independent. So in the end, I beat him. It used to annoy him. And I'm here to explain basically why we've left the Labour Party and why we've joined Reform. And Clive is going to say something about some of the other reasons why we did it. We've tried to coordinate our speech. If we say the same thing twice, I apologise for wasting your time. So we came to the conclusion that the old parties can't deliver services, and the result of not delivering services is cynicism in the electorate. We promise, and then nothing happens. Now, the Tories did that to excess. They promised and promised, and nothing happened. They failed to deliver all the things they said they would do. And then the Labour government came, and we thought, here we are, Keir Starmer's going to do things brilliantly, it's going to be different. I wasn't convinced. So what have we done since then? We're going to stop the illegal boats, but we can't even send a warship to Cyprus. Never mind stopping the illegal boats. The Labour government said we'll build 300,000 homes a year. Not a chance. Not a chance, and never was a chance. And the result is rents will go up, and people who are currently suffering with high rents are going to suffer even further in the private sector. The NHS, they pour billions down it, and nothing happens. And one of our contentions is that we've forgotten how to deliver services, and that delivering services is how we will connect with the British people and stop the cynicism that's going on there. But it's worse. In the NHS, Labour's lost its moral compass. Not only have they decided to cut waiting lists, they've gone to the waiting list and said, where are the people who shouldn't be on the waiting list? We'll take them off, and then we can say we've cut the waiting list. That is immoral. And then, and I know they've gone back on this, they're going to experiment on children. Experimenting on children is not something that the Labour Party should ever have done or been doing.
Well, that is Labour unveiling their first significant Labour defector, but he's called Sir Robin Wales. He was Mayor of Newham, which is a London borough, East London borough. For years, it was 60 councillors, all Labour. But if that, Miriam, is the major Labour defection that's been flagged for some weeks, that doesn't quite cut. It's not quite up there with a former Tory Home Secretary and a former Chancellor.
No, he's not a household name, is he? I mean, clearly...
He's not a household name.
I had never heard of him, as you know, Andrew. I've just been Googling him.
This is your opportunity to take advantage of ExpressVPN and their best deal ever. Get a premium VPN with enhanced privacy, security and identity protection. By supporting ExpressVPN, you're supporting us here at GBNews. And on premium and advanced plans, you get a dedicated zero-knowledge password manager app, and coming soon, the world's first consumer AI platform built on confidential computing. This video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, couldn't be easier to use. Just click the link, download the app, connect, and you're protected. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to save up to 82% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 extra months free.
Now, clearly, he's a long time Labour loyalist, and so
what's he ever done? That's what you have to ask yourself. This major Labour figure, what has he done?
And he fell out with Labour. Stephen Pound will be able to tell us why, but as long as it's respectable.
I think
the respectable version, Poundy.
What do you think of this? Are you next on the list?
Internal issues in Newham. Don't forget, you've got a situation in Newham where you actually have a considerable sort of Bangladeshi and Muslim upsurge people coming along there. But he actually fell out with the two MPs for Newham. It's a lot of his internal stuff, but to be honest, he'd been around for quite a long time. And he's not just yesterday's man, he's the day before yesterday's man. And I think one of the problems Reform have is that as long as they're identified with that, it's 6 or 7 or 8 frontline people, there's nobody coming forward. So at the next election, virtually all their candidates are going to be complete unknowns. Really and truly, if there's this great Reform surge across the country, and I don't deny that there is, people should be coming forward. And these should be new people who are new to politics, maybe people from a business background, people who simply haven't been tainted by the old system.
No,
and where are they? Because, to be honest, Robin Wales is not the answer.
No, I mean, this guy is a lifelong local politician.
Yeah.
And my criticism of Labour at the moment is all their backbenchers are people like him.
Yeah, he was deselected after 23 years.
Robin Wales, every single meeting of the London Labour Party, he made the same speech every single time. And he said, "Can you smell that? Can you smell that? That's the smell of a Tory-free zone." And year after year after year, I heard that speech because Newham was a one-party state.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. And I think there's an element of hubris there.
What's interesting, though, is that Reform clearly think that they need to win Labour defectors as part of their plan.
Yeah.
And, of course, all political parties want as broad an appeal as possible, as many votes as possible. But if you think what Labour stands for, and old Labour particularly, yes, there are some overlaps with the Reform position, patriotism, secure borders, but economically, certainly, Reform are trying to claim that they're not socialist.
Well, I'm not entirely sure where Reform are. Just don't forget, about a year ago, I was rather admiring Reform. They're going to bring all the utilities back into public ownership. They're going to bring in proportional representation. They're going to abolish the House of Lords. Sound stuff, I thought. And there's a lot of people like me who, from the more traditional wing of the Labour Party. We're socially very conservative. In fact, there's very few more conservative people than old Labour MPs. And so there was a crossover there. And I know perfectly reasonable people who said, yes, Reform talking a lot of sense. But on the other hand, their fiscal policies, they seem to be very weird. I honestly don't understand. I'm in favour.
They've ditched most of them.
Well, I know.
I'm
in favour of public ownership, but and yet they seem to be in favour of that, and yet that's completely contrary to what the Tories are saying. And so,
hang on a minute, Mike's been called by Nigel Farage.
Sorry,
sorry.
Very sorry.
No, but the interesting thing is that one thing I spotted up in Gorton and Denton was how much the anti-reform vote can be whipped up.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Gorton and Denton, Mr. Parry, because on this very programme last week, you told us off-air that Labour were going to storm it. It was going to be an extraordinary victory.
Yeah,
that's why the Prime Minister heard the conversation.
And I went around telling all my friends.
It was much. There we are.
I told them about the result 24 hours before it happened because I thought I had it from the horse's mouth, and guess what?
Usual,
it was the wrong one.
And I think you'll find I was assertive in saying the Greens will win it.
Well, indeed you did, which is probably why you get paid a lot of money for your job. But look, the reality is I was up there the week before, and
it's your fault.
And
that's why they lost.
It's not my fault. The reality is that the postal votes were looking very good for us in the early days, but in the last couple of days there was a discernible swing. We could actually see the votes leaching out way on the last couple of days before.
Well, that's probably because Keir Starmer went up there and people were saying...
I think it's because people
collapsed. It must have been. I mean, first of all, he went up there because he thought he was on a winner. He thought he was on a winner, and he'd gone up, and then he was going to claim the credit for,
getting
them over the line.
Yeah.
But in fact, he went up there, and now Poundy tells us the minute he got there was a dip in the Labour vote.
And it went, and they didn't just lose Poundy. They were in third place.
Yeah, I know.
Humiliating
in a seat that we won.
I think it was Labour's 7th worst by-election performance.
Well, I mean, the traditional response at this time is, governments lose by-elections and they win them back at general elections.
Yeah.
I think the first part is true. I'm not entirely sure about the second part.
This phenomenon of the anti-reform vote, though, is quite interesting. Lots of polling on that today. That that the number of people saying they would vote to stop reform is now more than the number of people who vote to stop Labour. And of course, part of that is because reform has been so successful. They're now very much in people's consciousness. But it is a mountain that reform are going to have to climb at the next election.
We saw this in Caerphilly. In Caerphilly, Plaid Cymru won, and
this was a by-election last year.
Indeed, for the Senate, for the Welsh Parliament, and there it was a discernible anti-reform vote. People coming, Labour people were giving their votes to Plaid Cymru. Similarly, Labour people, up in Manchester, actually giving their votes to the Greens to stop reform.
Should Labour be worried, Mike Parry, because it seems that the very large Muslim population in that constituency, 29-30%, voted almost as a bloc for reform. Sorry, for the Green Party. George Galloway had been up there, former Labour MP. His party got 10% at the last election. He said, vote Green, and they did. Has Labour lost that Muslim vote, which propelled them to power for so many years?
Look, it's absolutely obvious to anybody with half a brain that the Greens are being used as a Trojan horse by the Asian population, by the Muslim population, aren't they? Because when I was on the Chester Chronicle newspaper, there was a group called Friends of the Earth, OK? And what Friends of the Earth used to do was cycle round on bikes in shorts with sandals on and tell us all that, the world is going to get a bit polluted, so can we look after it? That is now the Green Party, who are fanatics. They haven't got any policies except hating everything that the Western world likes, and that falls very much into line with the Muslim vote. But the sucker and comfort I take is that what happened in Gorton and Denton can only probably happen in about another 6 pockets of this country because of the concentration of that Muslim vote.
I think what really worried me about this one by-election was the way that Hannah Spencer, who portrayed herself as a sort of like Mr. Smith goes to Washington, the innocent person is never...
The plumber,
Her mum stood for Parliament twice. One of her sisters is a Labour councillor. The other one, they've had 19 elections.
Yes,
that family.
They are steeped in politics.
Absolutely steeped. But to present herself as a sea green incorruptible, the person is completely new to the game. But when she made a speech in Urdu and actually was appearing outside mosques wearing a keffiyeh, the Palestinian scarf, I have to say that is actually playing to a particular group of people, which is bad for democracy. But the other thing is, Mike, yet
and
again...
they ran lots of photographs of Keir Starmer with
shaking hands with Narendra Modi. But look, I mean, what you said was incredibly important. The Friends of the Earth then morphed into the Ecology Party.
Exactly.
And then did you hear anything about the environment from Green Systems?
Nothing.
All I heard about was Gaza.
Exactly.